Okay, so after creating this package, simply, we are supposed to, create a servlet. So how to create a servlet? Simply right click on the package, go to the new and simply click on servlet. Okay, so it will give you the, the default. So the default superclass would be the HTTP servlet. You can choose other classes here as well, the generic servlet or the interface, servlet interface here as well. So we will go with the default as of now. So let's choose the name of the servlet, my first servlet service. Okay, and we will go with the flow. Just simply click on next. It will extend the HTTP servlet class by default because you have chosen over here, because this is the template of creating a servlet. Okay, simply go to the next. It is saying that it will map it with this URL. So if you want to change the name of the URL, this will come into the URL as well with the slash inside the URL whenever you will invoke this servlet. So you have to use this particular name to invoke this servlet. It is okay with us. Go to next. So it is saying that you are you will be using the superclass constructor, so we don't use it. Inherit abstract method, yes, definitely we will use this do get method. Do post it is not required. So the structure will be there if we simply finish it. Okay, so this is structure. Let me delete this, it will be more clear. So this is actually the servlet. Okay, and in this servlet, if you look at it, okay, okay, so the error, we need to resolve these errors. Okay, so it is saying that it is not able to find it, so we need to add the proper jar into this file. So let me find out the the jar inside the Tomcat directory. I'll show you. Okay, and then we will add it with this project. So just wait for a second. Okay, so in order to add the proper library, because it is showing that it is not able to find all these, the annotation and the classes we have added in the default structure of the servlet. So simply right click on your project and go to the build path. Okay, and in the module path, simply go to the library and click on module path and simply click on add external jars. So there is a servlet API inside the Tomcat server. So we need to locate that. It will forward. It is forwarding me to the libraries of the Tomcat. In your case, if it is not, then simply go to the Apache Tomcat server and the library. Okay, inside the library, you would be able to find a servlet API somewhere. So like mine is here, servlet API. Simply click on open, apply, okay, and apply and close. Okay, so all the errors are resolved. Okay, delete this as well. We'll design from scratch. Okay, so this is the servlet we design. If the servlet, as you remember that this mapping was there during the creation of the servlet, this is do get servlet of HTTP servlet. Okay, this is the abstract class. We are extending this and we have to implement at least one of the methods. So if we are using do get method, okay, and in the URL if we write it, this method will be executed. So let's write something inside this method. Uh, in order to do that, so there is a function in the response. Let me, okay, so I'll talk about I would like to discuss a little bit about these requests and responses. So let's say this servlet will be invoked by a third page. Okay, so that third page, okay, will forward the request to here. Okay, so this request can access the parameters from that page. Okay, the third page. Okay, this response will be the eventual result, will be forwarded to the client at the end. So in the response there is a response, there is a function called get writer. So if you use it, you simply can write something in the response. So let's store it. This is something print writer class pw. Okay, let's import it. Okay, and with pw simply write println. So println, you simply write any message, let's say hello there. You can simply and then simply close it. So what we are doing, if this servlet will be invoked, okay, then this hello there message with this symbol would be there as a response. Okay, so why we are able to send this message? Because with the response we are able to access the buffer with the writing position. We can write over this buffer with messages. So with the print writer, we can call the print ln method, and we can simply send as a string as a message. Okay, we can simply pass a string as a message to that page. So simply let's uh, save it and let's execute it. So we have to run it over the server. It will ask, okay, next, and it will finish. So as you know that there is no default service as of now for our project. We have to use this URL inside our the main URL. With this URL, then only we will be able to invoke this service. So as you can see, we are able to simply invoke with this URL. This URL will the client will hit this URL, and actually with this URL, if this is correct, okay, then a particular Java code, okay, whatsoever you want to write inside, this do get method, you can write over here, and the Java code will be executed. So it means for a particular URL, you can execute a particular type of service. You can you can guide a server to do certain work. So that is the thing. Okay, so as you can see that I have invoked it manually. Okay, this name I have used inside the URL, but being a end user, I will not remember all these, the mapping names. So how to manage it, we will see now. Okay, because this should be handled by the server only. The end users are not supposed to use it explicitly in the URL. Okay, they will hit on the button or the text or the link. Okay, so this will be handled by the application only. So we will handle this manually, but this is the actually this is how to build a servlet. So do get if you want to implement do post method, you can implement the post method as well. Either one, you have to implement at least one of the methods before using the http servlet as an abstract class. This is my servlet, this is its mapping. But if we want this mapping to be used by the application, then there is a XML file we have created during the object creation. So that XML file is over here. So simply open that XML file, delete it. We don't need it. Okay, and we want to use, or we want to handle this this mapping. Okay, this particular mapping we want to handle it. Okay, so let me copy this mapping and simply, as of now, simply just write it like this. So you have to create a servlet. Okay, you have to create a servlet, or inside the servlet you simply we are mapping this servlet actually. Okay, so the servlet name would be my let me check the so the easiest way is to simply copy your the class name. Okay, let's make the name of the servlet would be the same as the class name, and then you have to map it with the servlet class. So servlet class would be this class with full path name. So the path name would be com dot akash. From the root folder you have to give the path akash dot servlets dot So this is actually this servlet you want to design. You want to map it with the above name. Okay, so you want to map this servlet. Servlet mapping would be there. Servlet name. So the servlet name would again be the same, but the mapping parameter would be different. URL pattern would be this. Okay, so we want to map this URL with a particular servlet, and that servlet the web.xml file can locate with the Java file. So let's delete it. We are done with the handling of the URL. Okay, so explicitly we don't need to use it in the you know uh, in the URL. So whenever this this servlet name will be used inside any JSP page, okay, it will understand that you are actually accessing this particular URL. Okay, so it means whenever you use this my servlet name inside any service, okay, this particular class and the default or the service method of this particular class, in our case this is doGet method, will be invoked. So in order to use this web.xml file properly, what I'll do, I'll create a index page, okay, inside this a JSP page, index.jsp. And simply what I'll do, I have already created it somewhere in the project. So what I'll do, I'll simply copy paste. It is the username and the password. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll copy this form and paste it over here. So this form is saying that you enter your username and then the password, and then you click on the submit button. Okay, the submit button is the login button. Okay, this would be the type of submit, and the login button, this would show you login as a button. Okay, and what you're doing, you are taking the username and storing in the value 1. Okay, and then you are taking the password, okay, as a text, and you are storing into the value 2. So as an index, okay, as we know that if I click on login button, it will forward me to the action. It will perform the index operation. So in our case, it would be, the action would be, let me show you, just hold on, let me close it, otherwise we'll get confused. The XML, in our case, it would be this service. So in that case, simply write this. So what will happen, uh, this index page will be the default page. Okay, it will show you the default page, and once you click on login, it will forward, or it will call this service. So it will go to the web.xml file and search, okay, this is the URL and this is the service you want to invoke, and you can find the web.xml file will find the service inside this path. Okay, so if I simply execute this project, okay, so what I'll do, I'll simply run it. Okay, run on the server, index page will be there. Okay, so the default, this form will be there. Just wait for a while. Okay, so what we need to do, we simply need to stop. Okay, so it is already stopped. What happened actually? So start. There is some error saying that localhost has encountered a problem. Just hold on. 8080 is being used. So in order to do that, simply remove this. Okay, and stop it. It is already stopped. Restart it. I think this will resolve the issue. Now let's run this project over the server. Next, finish it. Just hold on. 6 sensor bit per page load fair. So let me check the error. Just hold on. Okay, so the error was actually we were using the name of the the servlet name over here as well, like this we were using, which is not allowed by the servlet. So we can use any name instead of the name of the servlet in the URL. So we are not supposed to use the servlet name and the URL name same. So instead of that, let me do the same as it was. Okay, so whenever this index URL will be called, okay, as a URL, okay, then this servlet will be executed. So let's look at the flow. Whenever the URL, inside the URL, this will be found, okay, whenever the web XML file will find slash index, okay, inside the URL, then this servlet will be called, and the web XML, okay, the web XML will map this URL, this servlet to this particular class. And in this particular class, okay, this method will be executed. Okay, so let me modify the index page. Okay, so it is the same. So if we take the values from the user and we click on the login, it will perform index. So then the URL would become whatever is the default URL of the project slash index. So it will again come to the web XML file with slash index. So the web XML file will say, okay, according to the name you have in the URL, I have a servlet which I have the service class as well. So I can ask the controller or the container, the servlet container, to execute the service method inside this class. So before any do, let me execute it, run on the server. Okay, so just hold on. So this is actually the index page. This page, it is taking, asking enter username, enter password, and then click on login. So it will perform index. So index is mapped to the URL we have, sorry, the servlet we have created, and will print this only. So if I simply, clash 1 2 3 4, simply click on login. So it is saying that, okay, hello there. And now we don't need to remember the URL of the servlet. It is, handling it through the web XML file. So as you can see, we are not doing anything with the link, okay, with the URL. Simply we are clicking on the button, it is performing, it is forwarding us to the servlet. But we have not used anything from the index page, although we have the request. Okay, so if let's say the index page is there and it is saying that after taking these values, perform index. So first the request would come here, and then it would go to the index servlet. Okay, and index servlet will be found uh, by the web XML file. This is the servlet attached to this index. Okay, and the service method inside this servlet. So what we can do inside this, instead of this, we can use the request dot get parameter, parameter. This would be get parameter, and we remember the parameter is, well, 1. Okay, this is actually the username, and if we want to write the password as well, so simply what to do, simply do this. So it would be little good if we can write like this: user and the password. So now it would look little professional. Okay, so if I simply execute, so there is a difference. Let me explain that. We have made the changes inside the servlet. So in order to do that, we have to rerun and redeploy our project over the server. It is not like a JSP. So you make a change over here and you simply refresh this page and everything will be okay. So every time I make change, you know, in the servlet, I need to rerun the project. So I'll run the project. Okay. So simply write Akash and then Johan. It should, okay, so it is printing Akash and Johan. So now what is happening? Let's see the flow. Index page is there. It is taking well1, taking a username and password, storing in the well1 and well2 respectively. And once you click on login, it will add this index/index into your URL. So again, that URL will come to the web.xml file. So it will say, okay, with the default name, this is being called. So the web.xml file has a particular servlet attached to this URL. So it will execute the service written inside the this servlet. So this servlet class is here inside the servlet class name. Okay. So it will go to the servlet. Okay. The servlet we have created, inside that we are taking parameters, both parameters, the username and the password. We are using response and we are calling a get writer. Get writer will provide you this pw.println way to write your message as a string. Okay, in the Java you write a string and it will return to the, as a response, and will be forwarded to the client. So this is the flow, and I hope this is clear. And one thing you should focus on that, okay, let's look at the URL. This is the default URL. No resource is being called. After you click on login, it is actually forwarding you to the Java code. So it means for a particular, see this, if you are clicking on login, okay, it means it is your choice to use the input or not, but if you click on login, it is performing some kind of a service behind, and this service is over here. So once you click on it, you want to perform a particular service, which is index service. So where is the code for the index service, and which servlet will perform the index service, you will find over the web.xml file. So index service will be performed by the my first servlet service, and you can find that code inside this class. So this class is there, okay, and in this class we have do get method, which is actually performing that service. So this is one of the ways to build a servlet. Instead of HTTP servlet, you can use generic servlet or the servlet interface. For each abstract class or interface you are supposed to implement or extend, there is a different service method you have to give the definition of. Okay, so this is all about how to build a servlet based project. According to this lecture, there will be a practical, and I'll upload it over the Moodle so you can work on that practical. Okay, so I hope things are clear. If you have any problem, you can comment down below to this video, or you can message me. Okay, so thank you guys for today's lecture. Have a good day.